It is Monday, March 30th, 2020, and you are tuned into DIRTRACKR Daily. I'm Justin Fiedler. How's everybody's weekend? Did you guys get some good hangout time in? Maybe get some yard work done like I did. I feel like thanks to this downtime, we're getting like a lot of projects done around the house. And I know that like the Lowe's and Home Depot like parking lots have been full, and I know there's been some criticism about that, but hopefully everybody's being safe out there as they go and get their house projects done while they're doing all of this stuff. I got a couple of things done myself this weekend, got some hedges trimmed and some other things that I've been kind of putting off. So it's a good time to get some projects done while we're all stuck here. But hope everybody's being safe. After originally saying they were going to run iRacing shows on Wednesday nights, alternating between sprint cars and late models, the World of Outlaws have decided to instead run 2 nights a week. They're going to run sprint cars on Sundays and late models on Monday. Last night was the second sprint car race they've hosted, again with a very stout field of cars. This is the invitational with all of the the normal kind of World of Outlaws drivers and different dirt guys involved. They had 48 cars hot lap with 47 taking time in qualifying. This week's race was at the dirt track at Charlotte. The previous week was at Volusia. 18-year-old Tasmanian driver Jock Goodyer took quick time over Trent Ivey and Kevin Swindell. If you don't know who Jock is, he finished 4th in the World Series Sprint Cars Championship this year down under. He was also awarded the Series Rookie of the Year. So up and comer, he's 18 years old. I think we're looking at some exciting things coming for Jock in the future here. The format was the same as last week, 5 heats taking the top 3 to the feature. The heats were won by Goodyer, Christopher Bell, Kevin Swindell, Chase Briscoe, and last week's winner, Logan Seavey. From there, the alphabet soup started again, just like last week, with the E-Main. The top 6 transferred from each main up into the LCS. Cale Thomas won the E-Main, Michael Bauer won the D, and Kyle Larson won the C. The LCS then took the top 5 to the feature, which included LCS winner Trent Ivey, Carson Macedo, Troy Wagaman Jr., Brent Brunkenhofer, and Tony Gualda. Gualda was one of the big stories of the night. After Troy Wagaman went E to the feature last week, I'm not sure we thought we would see this again, but we saw it again this week. Wagaman goes E to the feature last week. This week it was Gualda doing the same run. He started 8th in the E and ran all the way up to the final transfer in the LCS to start at the rear of the feature. On start, it was Goodyer who led early with Kevin Swindell taking over the lead on lap 4. Swindell led quite a bit of the feature. Goodyer and Logan Seavey were kind of battling it out behind him for that second spot, but they were able to run him down. Swindell would end up getting caught up in a crash. He finished 11th. But after Goodyer and Seavey went out for a little bit, it kind of settled out with Seavey out front. But then late contact with Goodyer sent Seavey hard into the outside wall. Goodyer made a kind of a dive to the bottom into the corner and caught Seavey's left rear tire, just kind of turned him to the outside wall. Goodyer would hold on to win over hard charging Tony Gualda. David Gravel was 3rd, Austin McCarroll was 4th, and Max McLaughlin was 5th. So after having not run last week, Goodyer had an incredibly strong showing, obviously taking quick time. He won his heat race and winning the feature. I think it's interesting, even though we had kind of a different racetrack, the DIRTRACKR Charlotte Motor Speedway, very different, racetrack and service than Volusia Speedway Park, but a lot of the same names in the feature this time out. Guys like CV, Swindell, Chase Briscoe, David Gravel, Christopher Bell, lots of other guys were some of the same names as we saw last week in the feature. I thought maybe we'd see a little bit more of a mix-up with some of those guys in there, kind of based on track service, and kind of once some guys got some experience, and kind of settled into this kind of format of racing and got a little bit better this week. I'm sure a bunch of them spent a lot of time practicing to get themselves prepared to race. The sprint cars will be back in action next Sunday night. I'm not quite sure yet what the track is, but as we get a little bit closer and into Friday and things like that, we will certainly preview those again and give you an idea about where they're going to be racing at. Tonight, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series takes center stage when their first iRacing event gets underway. They're going to race at 7 o'clock Eastern on DIRTVision.com. Expect a stout field of drivers. I think you'll probably see more late model guys involved in this. There's been some late model guys involved in the sprint car shows. Trent Ivey, Ashton Winger, Brandon Shepard. Quite a few late model regulars have been involved in the sprint car stuff, but I would expect to see a few more late model guys take part in the late model portion of this. I have not seen a driver list yet, but I would imagine we will get that at some point today. But I think there's going to be some decent sprint car guys in this also. I saw something about maybe Logan Schuhart participating, and again, would be surprised if guys like Briscoe or Larson or some of these other guys got involved in the late model show. So keep an eye out for that. Looks like there's more money on the line as well. Kind of, we saw that last night. The winner is, gets $1,000 for winning these shows. But it looks like some of the Outlaws sponsors have stepped up to kind of add some additional contingency money to this deal. And you saw last night things like Heat Race winners, Hard Charger, a couple other things. The main winners all got $100 from different contingency sponsors. So it looks like that's going to continue going forward as well, even for the late model guys. So we'll have a recap of the action tomorrow on the show, kind of let you know who raced and what the format looked like and all that type of stuff. So full rundown of the late model iRacing portion for the World of Outlaws tomorrow on the show. Also tonight is round 2 of the iRacing World of Outlaws Sprint Car World Championship. These are all like the kind of pro level guys that we talked about last week. And last week was the opener for the series. Alex Bergeron dominated over Blake Cannon, Cameron Merriman, Adam Elby, and David Halleman. You can tune into this race at 9 o'clock on iRacing.com/live or Twitch.com/iRacing. Just like we did last week, we'll have a full rundown tomorrow on the show for that race as well. I know we're talking about a lot of iRacing stuff, and it probably feels like this is turning into an iRacing show at this point, which I certainly understand. And I know some folks aren't into the iRacing stuff, which I completely get. I'm certainly not going to knock anybody for not understanding it and not being into it. It's certainly not the real thing. I think it's really close though, and I think what we've seen here, even with the sprint car shows we've seen here in the last week or so, the racing is really fun. It's really frantic, and if you haven't checked it out, I certainly would recommend that. And tonight's Sprint Car World Championship event at 9 o'clock is completely free. So you don't need to have a fast pass or anything like that to tune in. So if you'd like to kind of get your feet wet and check that out, I certainly would recommend that. But I think for the time being, with no racing going on, this is obviously racing, and so I'm going to continue to cover this. I think I'm a race fan, and I need a fix just like a lot of you do on a regular basis, and this is kind of the next best thing. So we'll continue to talk about it, and then as things pop up, and as we get back to racing here, hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll certainly kind of transition back to that. I certainly want to kind of keep an eye on this stuff though, going forward, and I don't know that we'll do full race recaps once actual racing gets going on again, but I certainly want to keep an eye on it and talk about it a little bit. I think it's an interesting interesting avenue to see these guys kind of race and to kind of work their way up. And you've seen a lot of guys that have been talked about in the last couple of days, that have gotten last couple of weeks, even especially like on the NASCAR side and things, guys that have kind of cut their teeth and learned how to get around some of these tracks on iRacing, and then were able to move up. And one of those names that you've heard a lot is William Byron, who's now in the 24 car for Hendrick. He kind of started out in iRacing and then moved his way up and obviously battled his way to the top. So I think there's a lot of value here, and I want to keep talking about it more as we go forward. But transitioning over to the website a little bit, over the weekend I did start working on some World of Outlaws late model races, getting those loaded into the analytics section. The database is prepped and ready to go. I did some code work. I have a little more code work to do. I would like to start adding some of those races here within the next couple of days, and we can start kind of digging through some of those numbers and some of those stats from the last couple of years. I'm starting with the Outlaw late models, just because those results are formatted really similarly to the World of Outlaws sprint car results, and it's just easy with the kind of code that I've already built to just go ahead and add those in while I'm at it. I want to jump in and branch out into Lucas Light models and the All Stars and some USAC stuff as well, but I have to kind of build custom stuff for each of those series because their results are all formatted differently. And so the Outlaw late models is just kind of the easiest jump right now to get some other races into the analytics section. But as I start building those out and getting some races in, and we can start taking a look at some stats and stuff, we'll talk about that stuff on the show here, hopefully within the next couple of days as I get time. That's the show for today. Hope everybody has a good Monday. You can find Dirt Tracker Daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or where you get podcasts. Please subscribe, leave me a review, tell your friends. You can watch the show also on YouTube and Facebook every day. If you'd like to email me, you can email the show at info@dirtracker.com. Certainly we'll take suggestions, questions, anything else you have around the show and the website. You can follow along with the website, facebook.com/dirttracker, twitter.com/dirttracker, or the website itself, dirttracker.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin_Fiedler. You can sign up for the Dirt Tracker weekly newsletter that is live on the site right now, and I'm going to get one of those out today if you would like to check that out. Thanks for tuning in. We will see everybody tomorrow on Dirt Tracker Daily.